TV. Welcome to Ministry of Information Press, Special Press Briefing.
It's long overdue. We intended to have periodic engagements with the public and the press to bring you up to speed on some of the initiatives of the Ministry of Commerce, particularly in the 100 days that we've been in office, but also to let you know some of the plans that we've been having. Unfortunately, today, I'm here to highlight some of these achievements and some of these activities, but also address one of the major issues that have been in the press for the last 2 days, which is the issue relevant to the price and availability of rice in the market. So I'll get into that shortly. But let me start by saying, when we talk over, I would like to get into how dysfunctional the Ministry of Commerce was. A lot of agencies have been affected. A lot of new leaders and ministers and head of departments and agencies are confronted with the same issues. How these agencies were inherited, and the policies and the systems that were in place to deliver on our objectives. But I'll tell you about what we've been doing and where we're heading. So within the first couple of weeks up to a month, my principal deputies and the assistant ministers were not in office, so we're confronted to understand what we inherited at the Ministry of Commerce and get the machinery of the Commerce Ministry up and running. Over the last few months, couple of months, we've aggressively tackled the issue of audits, internal reviews, system reviews, to make sure that we're at a place where we have the capacity to deliver on our mandate. We've already started working with UNDP on our 5-year strategic plan that will encompass all our activities for the next 5 years, encapsulating the 100-day deliverable, our 1-year plan, and our 3-year plan. This will be updated as a country as we update our national development agenda, which I can assure you the government is working on. We have worked towards ensuring that all the parastatals, all the units of the Ministry of Commerce is working effectively. We visited the Monrovia Industrial Park, which is one of the units under the Ministry of Commerce, to ensure it was functional, to ensure that it is supporting industry. To our surprise, indeed, there were a lot of activities at the industrial park, but they were mainly dominated by foreign enterprises. So we have revised our strategic agenda to ensure that Nigerian enterprises are given more space at the industrial park. In that process, we've inspected all the facilities, all the factories, to make sure that they were living up to the standards that they are supposed to, and they are producing products that are safe and healthy for Nigerians, for the general public. In that regard, we have identified a lot of lapses in working with those agencies, institutions to correct them. We're working with development partners, in this instance UNIDO, to expand the industrial park to make sure that there is room for Nigerian enterprises. We're working with LEC to ensure that we have affordable electricity at the industrial park. Regionally, we're working with the WTO, ECOWAS, and EU on the African Continental Free Trade Agreement to ensure that we don't only subscribe to these policies and these agreements, but we have the capacity to benefit from the reciprocity of those agreements. Liberia is still almost a net importer now. Though we are part of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, but we see that we have no industries. We are not exporting. We don't have the capacity to export. While our neighboring countries, our brothers and sisters are benefiting, a lot of the commodities and products on the Liberian market, coming from regional sources, Ghana, Nigeria, and so forth. So we are aggressively ensuring that our our industrial policy is in vogue and is in line with our development agenda to empower Liberians in value addition. Key to import and export, particularly local export, we must have the capacity to develop products and commodities that meet international standards. So we're focused on developing the Liberia Standard Lab, which has turned into the Liberia Standard Authority. A lot of work has been done. It is a very efficient unit. It's been well supported by the government and the government partners. We're expanding it to also conduct inspection of goods coming into the country, particularly food products. We're working and discussing with several entities to provide inspection of frozen foods, expanding the lab facility and capacity to do that, and also the capacity to inspect and certify commodities and products on the Liberian market. I can tell you recently we were able to discover a factory in Nizo that was producing electro-wire in Liberia. A lot of the fire issue that you see happening had evolved from that factory producing substandard wires, substandard light bulbs, and branding them similar to international brands. Our inspector was able to identify that. We've shut down the company. We've taken those commodities to Ghana and our standard lab to test the quality. We've also expanded this, looking at that, to other factories in the country. We've been inspecting all the manufacturers of steel products, zinc, food products, and consumables. Those that we have issues with, we are taking them abroad to a regional, higher level standards laboratories to determine the quality for local consumption, and we're making a couple of advances. At the crux of our agenda is developing Liberian enterprises, not only small and medium enterprise businesses, but also in the industry. The President believes that the crux of our rescue agenda, our arrest agenda, is ensuring that Liberians are capacitated to be able to harness the evolution of the economy, starting with value addition, where our comparative advantage lie. And this also ties into food production, which I will get into shortly. In terms of small businesses, next week, in fact, Wednesday, we are launching a massive informal sector registration process where we are targeting minimum of 10,000 Liberian businesses operating in the informal sector. We're registering them free of charge, linking them up with banks. We have recruited the various universities, students from the various universities to implement the exercise. And we're passing them through our small and medium small business administration to ensure not only that they are registered, that they acquire PIN numbers, TIN numbers, but they are also linked up with banks and giving basic business training to be able to function and grow. And to address some of the hindrances such as funding capacity that we see our small and medium enterprises. Last week we launched a $90,000 program where the disabled community benefited, women in textile, and entrepreneurs with HIV benefited. We distributed small loans to them between $500 to $1,000 to help capacitate them. There were several beneficiaries, and we believe they also play a role in our economy and should be supported. We're also launching this week a program with the various banks through the instrumentality of the World Bank. We're implementing a $6 million micro lending program. We've already vetted the various banking institutions and financial institutions approve of the process. Beginning next week, you will see more information on it, where $6 million, starting with the first $3 million, will be distributed through the commercial banks targeting Liberian enterprises, again guided towards our priorities, which will be value addition. We've begun thorough engagement with our stakeholders. We've met almost all, major institutions. We've had meetings with the Liberian Business Association, the Liberian Chamber of Commerce, the Foreign Business Associations, key sectoral associations like the rice importers. In fact, today we met all the supermarkets, the owners of supermarkets, to ensure and work with them on the constraints and to ensure that they work with us on reducing the cost of doing business and the cost of commodities on the market. We're very concerned with the high cost of living. There are room for improvement. There are room that we have to make some adjustments as government, but also there are some responsibilities from our partners, our business partners, to reduce the cost to our people, and we're working on that. We have major major advancement as far as the institution asset recovery process have gone. We have been able to retrieve several assets that were out there. And now that we have the budget passed, first from the provisional budget to the full budget, we can assure the public of a very aggressive agenda to empower our Liberians into businesses to make sure that they take lead in the economy and to ensure quality of food and products on the market, and that we are effectively integrated into the global trading system. Now, today, in extension of what we've been doing as far as pricing, meeting the various importers, we have an issue that today I must announce that there will be an increase in the price of rice. But before going forward, let me start with the historical context. When we assumed office on February 6th of this year, we received a letter from the rice importers on February 8th, citing several communications to the previous administration, and the latest then was in October of 2023, requesting the government to increase the price of rice from $17 that it was at to $20. In that letter to us, they cited the previous communication and cited the reasons why. At the top of the reason was the increase of the imposition of a 20% surcharge by the Indian government on rice, the particular rice that Liberians preferred and was on the market as the Indian 5% broken pagor rice. It is just that particular rice. So India imposed a 20% surcharge on that, and that has significantly impacted the cost of rice. Also, they cited the war in Ukraine and issues within the region that was also impacting freight, insurances, and time delays. When we met them, we were very clear with the rice importers that as a new government, we were not going to entertain at this time, especially having just experienced the issue of the military, any increase in the price of rice. However, we negotiated with them to give us 3 months to ascertain all the issues that they had, they were putting forward, and all the issues they had communicated to the previous administration to ensure that we're making the right decision for the people. We also negotiated with them that our priority is to reduce the cost to end users, that if we were to consider all the issues that we're raising for the increase of price of that particular rice, we obligated them to ensure that there was a variety of rice, or several varieties of rice on the market that we sold for $16 or less. They committed to do so. We also articulated the priority of the president and the priority of the new administration that rice production, local production, was key to our sustainability and self-sufficiency. And we articulated to them that we needed them as rice importers to invest in local production. They committed to do so. So within that period, we began instead of increasing the rice price from 17 to 20 as they had requested, we negotiated and reduced the rice price to $16.75 as a temporary measure for the new government that was coming in. While we proceeded from there, they have linked up to it, by the way. While we proceeded from there, we began a rigorous agenda at the Ministry of Commerce to ascertain all of these facts and to ascertain, to confirm, to corroborate what they were requesting for. We called him, we had a meeting with the Indian ambassador, and he did verify that indeed the Indian government had imposed the 20% surcharge. And since then, we have been working with them, engaging them to see how they can have a dispensation for Liberia. We'll update you on that. It's a long process. There are diplomatic channels that we have to follow, which we have started doing. And once we get a response from the Indian government, if there's any mitigating action, we'll brief the public about it. While we're discussing this, India imposed another 4% surcharge. So that brought it up to 24%. Again, on that variety of rice. At some point in time, between then and now, there were rumors of shortage of rice, pending shortage of rice in the market. It is our obligation not only to seek ensure that products of foodstuff, sensitive foodstuff like rice, are available on the market, but also that the prices are affordable. So in that process, we re-engage the rice importers. We send our inspectors out. We inspected all the warehouses to verify the stock of rice in the market. We were able to verify as they intimated to us that we had about 120,000 metric tons of rice on ground that would last us till the end of May. We called the rice importers in, and through our persuasive negotiation, informed them that we are hearing of shortages on the known terms that were accept any shortage. We issued all the rice importers input permits to bring in rice, and we told them we're doing this so that they cannot come back to the government and say there are shortages because we did not give them permit. During this time, we also, in our effort to ensure that Liberians participate in all sectors, we also granted IPEs to 3 or 4 new Liberian enterprises to expand the importers of rice. Till now, they haven't been able to import rice, but we're still continuing the effort of supporting them and expanding that to any Liberian who showed the capacity to bring in rice. The first consignment of rice under this new arrangement arrived on April 22nd. Between April 22nd and last week, due to some of the constraints at the port, they were not able to berth and discharge. They began discharging last week. So this is also to demonstrate some of the constraints, inherent constraints here, that we are working with the NPA. We're having meetings with the NPA, LRA, the APM terminal to address. Between the 22nd and now, the rice importers that brought in rice have been accruing to demurrage. That's additional cost to the cost of doing business. Our team has broken down the cost of rice. We have solicited invoices from India. We have solicited invoices from other countries. We've invited distributors from all around, to see if we can bring in new importers who will be able to supply rice at competitive pricing. Look, it is a difficult process. The rice industry is like a cartel. Okay? Till now, we haven't been able to get any rice in with competitive pricing. We have verified all that they have said. We're working. There are some costs that we can reduce from this side, and we're working on them. On Thursday, we received another letter from the rice importers citing all the previous letters and informing us that they have lived up to what we've negotiated. They have a stock of rice that have arrived, a major stock of rice, but due to the cost and all that they have factored in, they can't afford to sell at the $16.75 that we brought it down to, and still requesting the government to bring it up to $20. We've had several meetings with them over the last 3 days. Okay. Look, as the president has intimated, there is no other way around this rice issue, around self-sustainability, self-sufficiency, unless we are able to grow our own rice. There will be continued exogenous factors, continued issues globally from financial to real crisis that will impact rice, the prices of rice and other commodities in the market. We must produce our own food. Over the last few days, there were suggestions of even implying subsidies to the rice importers, which we believe was tried before and wasn't successful and is not a solution. We did our calculation, even giving the rice importers 75-cent subsidy per bag equates to $9 million a year. Our recommendation to the president, which he supports, is that amount, a comparable amount, should be dedicated annually towards rice production. If every year we allocate between 50 cents per bag to 75 cents per bag, which amounts to $6 million to $9 million per year, instead of giving that to the rice importers, we can empower the local production of rice and other commodities. And we're in discussion with that. So, from $20, it has been a hard decision. We'll have to take the rice price up to $18.50, starting tomorrow. in our discussions with them, it is predicated on the continuation of this duty imposed by the Indian government, and at any point in between, we're able to reduce that cost and other global factors, and we're able to reduce some of the inherent costs, which we believe we can. Already we see room for reduction of charges at the port, charges at APM terminal, network charges, charges from the shipping lines that are considerably high, and various other charges. We can impact that price, and they are willing to sit with us at the table. Now let me also highlight here, that price increase is only towards the 5% Indian working rice. Okay. It doesn't impact any other rice on the market, and our inspector will be very vigilant to ensure that rice importers do not capitalize on this increase of this variety of rice to impact the white rice, the 25% protein papa rice, or the 10% protein papa rice. It should not also impact the niche rice, like the U.S. Carolina rice that is sold, on the market for higher price. Doesn't impact it. But there are some good news on the horizon with this engagement, as I stated before. The importers have also brought in other varieties of rice that will remain at $16. That includes the simple rice, but shorter grains. There are other varieties like the white rice that are becoming in next week. So along the way, they will decide, with partnership with the Liberian government through the Minister of Commerce, the other variety of rice that is more acceptable to the Liberian people, and they will increase the importation of those rice.
Extend my condolences.
As an alternative to the higher price. Our aim here, and as mandated by the President, is to ensure that while we cannot control the exogenous factors impacting the rice, the cost of foodstuff and rice, we must provide varieties to the Liberian people. If you can't afford the $18.50, you must have something lower or cheaper of good quality. That we have done. During our deliberations with them again, we stressed the arrest agenda and the President's focus on local production. Some of the issues that they were bringing up was the quality of the country rice, process and packaging of country rice, and so forth. So we have gotten them to commit to support local production, beginning with setting up a processing facility at the industrial park that will be run and operated by a consortium of Liberian enterprises that will aggregate country rice or the rice we produce in Liberia, clean them, filter them, and package them appropriately for export and for them to sell on the market. They have done the initial commitment of $200,000 to start that process, with the caveat that they will increase that support towards value addition as we move ahead. So to the listening public, to the Liberian people, it was a hard decision. But we had to make that hard decision to ensure that there is no shortage of rice in the market, and to ensure that we were doing this negotiation from an advantageous point. Had we not made some compromise, had we not looked into this deeper, down the line, if you remember a couple of years ago, we experienced an artificial shortage of rice on the market. There was a price hike, there was a panic, and we saw that the price of rice on the market, on the black market, went up to between $35 and $40. I won't get into the detail of the information that we had gotten, or some of the discussions we had in the background, but I reassure you, there's no shortage of rice, and everything we did over the last 3 months was to ensure that we had rice on the market, a variety of rice on the market, at affordable, the most affordable price that you can find. So for now, I'll leave it open. I think the process over the last couple of months is to look at all the costs, from transportation, from freight, from the local charges that are beyond us. For example, insurances, and there are rooms for changes. We are working on those. There are several issues at the port that I know the managing director of the port is working on, including the APM terminal agreement that imposes additional costs and bureaucratic bottlenecks. Those bureaucratic bottlenecks impact cost. For example, this ship that came in with rice came in on the 27th. Had it berthed within that short period of time, if it was discharged within a short period of time, that importer wouldn't have incurred additional costs, demurrage costs. We also met with the frozen food company. There are costs, for example, $78 being charged by APM terminal every time a container lands, especially the frozen food, but a plug-in cost. So if it's 1 hour before dispatching, they are charged at $78, and every day thereafter they are charged. So in-house we're working on some of those issues, and we can assure you it will impact cost. But even in my meeting with the president this morning, he was clear. To address all of these is to empower Liberians into value addition and local production, not minorize. We've also discussed today, and the president was very keen about it. It has not been practiced, but the Ministry of Commerce, he instructed us to find a way to create a buffer stock of rice so that we don't have a situation where we're pushed against the wall by the importers. And we're working on that immediately. We will reach out to Afrexim Bank and other institutions, donor community development partners, to see how between 5,000 to 10,000 metric tons can be imported by the government and stored here every 3 months, so that if we ever have a shortage, we can use that as a buffer stock. The question from Lena has to do with the same thing, and I think I've addressed that. With not only rice, we're looking at every commodity. I can show you a spreadsheet. We've gone into the supermarkets, and that's why we had a meeting with the supermarket owners today. We've cataloged majority, and continue to do so, of products on the shelves. We've sent to supermarkets abroad in the sub-region in the US. I myself, the last time I was on mission to the US last week, I went into the supermarkets and took photos and prices of various commodities that are sold in the supermarkets. We have identified a lot of discrepancies in pricing. We've engaged them. As we speak, I left them there. They were looking at all their associated costs to get them on the shelf, and we are addressing that. Okay, we're addressing that. You spoke about quality. We've inspected almost all the factories. I will not get into so many things that we have discovered already, but next week you'll start hearing some of them. We find 2 companies last week, major producers of food and beverages, $10,000 each for some things we saw at the factory that we want to deter. Okay? We will not be hesitant in imposing any fine to deter importers, manufacturers of food and commodities on the market from providing quality products at affordable, reasonable prices to our people. I think those were the questions.